What if you could step inside the mind of your favorite authors? Not their book, not their blurb, but their thinking. Welcome to the author's mind. This is where fiction is dissected, decoded, and rebuilt from the inside out. With your host, Shiloh Creed. Each episode is a deep, honest conversation with working fiction authors. If you write, if you read, if stories matter to you, this is your place. Hey, I am Shiloh Creed. Welcome to the Author's Mind. So excited today to have Aaron Ryan with us. He is a prolific author across multiple genres. We are going to have a wild ride today. So much to talk about and so many craft details to dig into. So excited to have you today, Aaron. Can you tell us a little bit about your writing journey, what you have on the market now, and where you're headed?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I love any chance I can get out there and actually talk about the process of writing and the author life, as glamorous as it is. Not. I get whims and I get these endearing rabbit trails that just completely veer me off course. And so I'm working on a trilogy right now that is actually a spin-off of an earlier saga that is my best-selling award-winning alien invasion Dissonance saga. I have to just flaunt these box sets everywhere I can because they're gorgeous. But the Talisman series is what I'm working on. I published volume 1 in October. And then number 2 has really taken me a while. I usually write quicker and faster, and you get in that groove where it just, you're like turbo kicks in. But this has been fraught with writer's block for some reason. So, and I've been working on a few other things. But as I start picking up speed on Talisman 2 Nexus, I get another idea for another book that is nonfiction and is basically love letters to my sons, and who are 9 and 6, and also just kind of an account of what it's like being a dad and how I feel we should be as dads. And my book is entitled "You Are My Whole Earth," and so that is a saying that we have. So I'm working on that book, and I love the cover. And as soon as that's done, I promise I'm going to get back to writing the Talisman. But that book and then my future lineup represents a total of 43 books that I will have put out. I think I'm actually published 40 or 39 so far, but I've got up to 43 lined up. So there you go.
Wow, that is awesome. I'm really excited to chat with you today because our writing journeys sound so similar. I'm working on book 42 right now. Have published under a lot of genres, have done mostly fiction, but a few nonfictions. So super pumped to learn from you and talk with you today. So you mentioned pacing. I think my highest output year, I wrote 13 books in 1 year. And that's definitely not normal for me. Like 5 to 6 is really comfortable for me. What is your pace and how do you handle life mixed with authoring and all the other things that you do?
Yeah, you're supposed to handle it? I didn't know there was I didn't receive that memo. Balance, what's balance? I actually have done the exact same. I'm pretty sure that in 24 I did 14 or 15 books, and then, there's like 13, maybe 14 this year. I do the exact same thing. I write very purposefully, very frenetically. As a voiceover artist, the industry is really eroding under the weight of AI. The SAG after strike hurt, the economy hurt, there's AI, there's lowballing clients, there's underbidding colleagues, it's all eroding. So my authoring career is really propelled by urgency. And the other side of it, though, is when I get a good story, and I'm so grateful that, stories like the Dissonance saga came to me, and, oh, look at that, I have another box set I wanted to show off. It just happened to be
beautiful.
Here. Yeah, it wasn't planned, it just happened to be there.
It just happened to be right there. It's perfect.
This is my Christian dystopian saga, The End. I'm also very proud of this. But I get an idea, and I just go, and I'm writing. As a voiceover artist, you talk about pace, and all day long we are slave to the clarion call of, or I shouldn't say the clarion call, but like the siren call of auditions, jobs, and when they come in, you have to do them. In between all those times, though, because it's been slow, my fingers are doing this on the keyboard, and I'm writing like crazy and researching like crazy. So it's really been propelled by urgency, but I do love putting out the book. The end product is the gift that you're giving to the world, and you have such high hopes. I love getting to that finish line and putting it out there, It doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction. I've just had a heart for whatever book I'm working on. Can't wait to get it out there.
That is so beautiful. Can you please hold up that beautiful box set again?
Yeah,
So
I would be glad to.
it is so funny because I have a trilogy that is End Times Dystopian, and I have a guy and a lion on the cover, also Plunged. It is just so random.
Is it called The End?
No, it's called Plunged.
Oh, okay.
So no, I know.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's a book that is my heart book. Out of every other book I've ever written was practice for that one. You know, I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but really, it's a calling, it's a gift, it's something that was supposed to happen. But I love that there's just so many similarities.
You're like a female doppelganger or something.
All right. So I want to circle back around to pace because there isn't a high percentage of authors who can produce as many books as you have. So you're kind of like, yeah, well, I just write it and it's done, and then I start the next one. I'm sure there's tons of authors out there thinking, how on earth do you put out that many books a year? So when you're working through a book, do you have to wait for ideas to come to you? Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I think by nature the pantsers write faster because they're an organic writer. It evolves. The argument could be made that a plotter actually is going to write faster because they have everything all planned out. But a pantser, it's kind of like just letting your fingers do the walking and the fingers do the talking. I tend to let my characters and stories evolve, and I learn about them in the writing. There are different identifiers that you need to make sure you have, like they can't have blue eyes in chapter 2 and green eyes in chapter 8. You have to have those ideas and those details all solidified. But I will write any chance I get. There are times where, Stephen King, I think, had a goal of writing 5,000 words every day or something like that. My goal is to write at least 5 pages a day. Now, that can vary. If you're writing at 1.5 line length, line spacing, Arial font 50, you're going to get to 5 pages pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
So it is just a matter of how compelling the story is. The reason why the Talisman second installment has taken a while is I haven't been quite so taken by this story yet. One was the same until I really locked in on the protagonist and what I could do with him, and then it just exploded. So I know I'm going to hit one of those vortexes where you just get sucked in and you're spit out on the other end and you're holding a book. That's what happens when inspiration strikes. You just have to follow it.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I'm sure there are a lot of listeners thinking, man, I hope that happens to me someday. I can't wait for the vortex to come and take me. Please, take me.
Come, vortex. We welcome you.
Oh, so funny. So I have a very similar take on that, but often it's I don't know how else to say this. It's my spirit that tells me if something is right or wrong. Sometimes it's a word, even I'll be writing, and then get to where it's urge, that's not the right word. And I have to go back and just fix that one. And sometimes if I find myself in that place where it's just not coming out, because I love that 5 pages a day, that 5,000 words, wherever you can get in there. I try to stick to that as well. But sometimes it's like you hit that brick wall. And I have learned over the years, this is my sign. If I am in the brick wall, something is wrong with the story. And as soon as I find it, go back and fix it, then it's like that flow comes right back again. So I hope that Talisman, you hit your flow with it, because we can't wait to read it. Now, you wrote your first book in second grade, is that correct?
I did. Well, I was ordered to write my first book in second grade. So it was a second grade assignment. So we were all ordered. And I think that you don't really fail second grade, but you could get an outstanding, as in outstanding in the hall. So we were all given that assignment, but that really opened my eyes early on to writing stories.
Did you know? Was second grade when you knew this is what I am?
No, not really in the strictest sense of that understanding. I knew that I had something cool that I had finished, and I held it in my hands and went, holy cow, that came from here and here to this, and I'm holding this, and that was an epiphany. But I think that the most eye-opening epiphany that happened in my life early on, that really revealed to me that I could be a writer, that I wanted to be a writer, that I wanted to produce something so lasting and so captivating and compelling was reading through The Lord of the Rings as an early teenager. Not The Hobbit. I like The Hobbit, but it's fairly elementary. Okay, it's really elementary. But The Lord of the Rings, he spent 15 years from 1939 to 1954 writing that saga as a single book that Rayner Unwin then split into three. But the depth, the breadth, the character development, the world building, it is so vast and rich and deep and broad. I kind of pulled a Russell Wilson, with his dad saying to him, "Why not you? Why not now?" And so I just said, "Why not me? Someday I could too." So you do find actually a lot of nods and tips of the hat in the way that I write, and some of the things that I actually write might be copyright infringement because they are a nod to Tolkien and what I've been inspired by in Lord of the Rings.
Wow, I did not know it took him 15 years to do that series. Wow.
I cannot take that long, man.
Wow, I agree. I have 27 more novels floating around in my head right now. So I feel the same way. Like I can't just sit around and wait. Like I need the time to write. This past year, I have really had a lot of commitments that I had to fulfill with writing. They were books that I wasn't really passionate about. A few of them were books that I felt nothing for. Like I wasn't really I didn't really want to write the book. This was just like I have to finish this. Have you ever written books in that way? Have you ever had things that just had to get done, or have you always written from a passion perspective?
Well, I think I've always written from a passion perspective, but the passion is unequal. There are inequities between the different types of content that you're writing. For example, Talisman is a fictional novel and it is a spin-off, and I want to be true to the original saga that it's a spin-off of. That was redundant. Spin-off of. And it's also a fairly bizarre plot that's heavily fantastical. It's sci-fi, but it's heavily leaning fantastical. So you look at that and how long it's taken me to write that by comparison to the original works that I've done. I wrote Dissonance Volume 1 Reality in 3 weeks and The End Alpha in 3 weeks. And so, those flew out of my mind and my heart and my fingers. But I just yesterday started writing You Are My Whole Earth, and I'm already to 94 pages because it's about my sons, and it's about my kiddos who I know their story. I know how this story goes, and I know where to go with it. It's not fiction, it's nonfiction, but I'm speaking from nonfiction. Always has seemed to write itself out of me much faster than fiction. And I think that's fairly commonplace, but this is a subject that I'm hugely passionate about, so it's going to go quicker.
I love that. I love that you have the heart of a father. We need that so much in our culture. So I'm excited for that book to come out. I hope that it affects thousands of especially young men.
The cover is gorgeous, by the way. Like I just cannot stop looking at this cover. It's so beautiful.
You have to send me a link, and we'll pop it in the description. That would be so cool. I wrote Pursued in 3 weeks, so I have plunged, pursued, and persuaded. I wrote Pursued in 3 weeks, and I would literally come home. It was finally at a point in my life. It was the first time in my life that I was able to go write, because I'm a homeschool mom and I have my kids 24/7. So I would get 2 hours in the morning to write, and then my writing career took off and my husband was able to retire. And so it's can I go spend 4 hours writing? To me, I'd never gotten to do that before ever. And so Pursued came out that way, and I would get home. I remember getting home, walking through the door, and literally leaning against the wall, panting. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." Some of those scenes, it takes a lot of energy to produce work. Do you find that different genres take a different sort of energy from you as the author?
Well, yes, I would say the straight and clear answer for that is yes. Writing children's books require a very innocent energy and a very straightforward energy, but it becomes more production energy because I'm not an animator. I hired someone to do all the animation, or not the illustrations in that. And then it just becomes a matter of laying it out properly and making sure that it's going to comply with KDP and Ingram Spark and all that. However, what's so funny is I still laugh about this. When I wrote The Electric Boy in second grade, that was really, it's a total ripoff of the novelization by Alan Dean Foster of E.T. There's so many things in there where I could absolutely be sued retroactively. My argument is I was 8, leave me alone. I wrote that one and I didn't even realize as I was writing Forecast, things really do come full circle. I wrote Forecast in 2024 and every time I would sit down and try to write it, it required so much energy. It was about a subject I was passionate about, which was 9/11, and it still impacts me to this day. And so I wanted to write a novel about a circumstance where 9/11 was actually prevented. Someone was seeing the visions of the future, and they actually prevented it. But what didn't occur to me was when I finished, or actually when I got to, I think, chapter 5 or 6, I realized, oh my gosh, 45 years later, I'm writing The Electric Boy all over again. And because of the many manifestations of what happened with Roland Bishop, who's the protagonist, it was a clear evolution from something I had written when I was 8. And it just manifested itself in this whole new story, this whole new circumstance. And then the energy level just exploded in that story. I'm so proud of how that turned out.
Oh, I love that story. That is incredible. So, really, encouragement to every author out there. Write what's inside you. Write what you're passionate about. Do the thing. If it doesn't turn out perfect the first time, man, there is another book inside of you. And I think a lot of authors we're so concerned with our first book or, this series, it's what I have. And we have to take that longer road view and say, I'm in this. I am an author. This is what I do. And I'm just going to keep growing my skill. So, man, I love that. It's so cool. You seem to really gravitate toward the sci-fi end of things. Where did that come from inside of you? Is that just your favorite genre to read? Or is that how you dream? Or
Probably all of the above. Yes. So my favorite movie of all time is Aliens, 1986 Aliens, Sigourney Weaver. I'm sure it is yours as well. I love that movie with every fiber of my being in the fire of 1,000 suns. And when I was writing Dissonance Volume 1, so Dissonance is an alien invasion saga, which is very different from the canon of Alien and Aliens and Alien 3. Has nothing to do with invasion, unless you're talking about the facehuggers and that kind of, anyway. But I wanted to write an aliens taking over the Earth saga, and I just wanted to write one. It exploded into 3. But we were watching I Am Legend the night before, which my wife and I had already seen. That's sci-fi. That heavily inspired me. I'm much more cinematically inspired than literarily inspired. I've always been that way. See a cool idea, ooh, that's great, and then deviate it, change something, make it my own, or get inspired to write something completely different but has an inspiration from there. And I've always loved science fiction. I love hard science fiction. Contact, the geekery that results from that movie, and all the techno speak that they all engage in with, right ascension and declination and all the galactic coordinates and all this. It's like, what are you even saying? But it's so cool. I don't have to know. I don't have to care. It's so cool. But space exploration, the colonial marines, different life forms. The movie Starman, when I was a kid, totally blew me away with Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. I love that stuff. I'm a geek.
Oh,
Proud.
that's
Geek pride.
That's right. Hold it up. How amazing, and so cool to find our inspiration in many sources. So when you, like you mentioned that, watching a movie and a certain part really inspired you, how do you put that into future books? Like, do you have like a notebook where you're keeping, ideas and thoughts? Is it all just in your head? Like, what does your workflow actually look like?
I don't want to, this is not a horn toot, but I really feel like an anomaly. I do really feel like an anomaly because I don't use flowcharts or index cards. I'm not a pantser. I don't structure things out. I keep it in my head, and I don't know how, but it manages to stay there.
Stay there.
It's so funny because when you're at a table at a vendor market or a craft fair, and here's all your books, and you're selling your books, and you start to describe some of these stories for people, and they go, how do you have all this in your head? And my answer is, well, I don't. I mean, they're here now.
They're out
You know,
here.
yeah, I purged, I offloaded, and so, and then I don't have unlimited bandwidth, and I do have to defrag up here and stuff like that. But it's limited space. I have 9 and 6-year-old sons, which take up a huge portion of this, and so thankfully it stays up in there, and I can remember usually well. I will say though, when I write a novel as a pantser, there are guideposts and mile markers, bullet points that represent something that needs to happen, some place they need to go, some development that needs to transpire. Otherwise, they're kind of wandering around bereft of any forward momentum. There's no axis to the story, front and back. So I do like to know where I'm going to go. How I get there and how long it takes the characters to get there, though, man, that's up for grabs in every story, and I like it that way.
Awesome. That is really cool. You have the box at the end, which is Christian dystopian. Yeah. How much biblical study research did you do for this series? I'm super interested.
Well, I mean, I'm a Christian, and I'm proud to admit it. And so I really struggled with writing Dissonance because there is mild profanity in there. They're aliens. They're going to get you. If they're coming towards you, you're not going to go, oh, shucks. You might say something else, more colorful. I was really convicted by that. So I literally felt God calling me to write clean Christian fiction with zero profanity. And I've never felt called to write anything. I felt inspired to, but I was literally called to write this, and it is so powerful. You will cry. There are incredible moments of redemption and salvation. It's flowing with scripture, and that is a byproduct of years in discipleship and memorization. I memorized the Gospel of John, the book of James, Romans 12, the book of 1 Peter, read the Proverbs every day, like, many people do, memorized Psalm 91, and just, all the different standout scriptures, and thankfully they stayed up there too, but the Word of God is living and active, sharper than any double-edged sword, so it's going to do its thing. I
Yes.
just found that as I was writing, I didn't want to force it and sound preachy, and some of the reviews actually will it's largely positive reviews, overwhelmingly positive reviews, but some of the critiques in some of the lower star reviews might say something that mentions preachy. I prided myself on bringing up the Word of God in these characters' lives because that's all they have left. All they have left is hope for redemption and deliverance and the Word of God. So yeah, they hid it in their heart so they wouldn't sin against Him. It comes out in their daily life. It's a light to their feet and a lamp to their path. That kind of stuff just flowed out, and I was so proud of that. It just came really naturally.
That's so beautiful. And I think that's really the deception that we live in, is we think we have other things when really we currently have the Word of God. That's where all life comes from. So I love that you bring that out. How cool. And it, once again, sounds so similar to Plunged. That book is full of scripture.
I'm checking that out.
I cannot wait to grab your series and read it. I have not read it yet. That one I am definitely going to pick up and read. Well, sci-fi requires so much world building. You go into other genres where it's, you have a normal world, and as a writer, you have so much less to do because everybody already knows, what the world is and how it works. But as a science fiction writer, you have so much more work to do with world building. So if you could give just a general percentage, how much of your books are world building? Like what is the amount of time you spend putting your world together?
One of the things that I love about writing post-apocalyptic is it usually has an established basis that's already there. So for Dissonance, for example, and for the end, they're set into the future, but there's been a ravaging, huge catastrophe of some kind that has really ravaged the planet, but it's still the planet. So if a building was there on this street corner, that street is still called the same thing. That building might be called the same thing. So here I am as a writer looking at Google Maps and Street View, and I'm taking that and transposing it into the story. So the world building is not um, so grandiose, other than it takes on the characteristics that it's meant to of the new story. It may be squeaky clean, and they may have just pressure washed the sidewalks in November of, or December of 2025, but my story is set in December of 2042. So weeds are growing up through the cracks. It is, moldy. There's decrepit buildings that have just kind of they're dilapidated and they're falling out of form. But it's still the same building and it's still the same street. You just age it, right? So I like that though, because it's really grounded in reality, and it's much more attainable that way, because you can literally thread your way as a human living in December 2025. You can thread your way through those very streets that your protagonist walked. And let me tell you, I wrote Dissonance without ever having visited Clarksville, Tennessee, or Blue Spring, Kentucky. But I took a what I call a pilgrimage in Labor Day of last year and visited those locations. Absolutely surreal. Absolutely surreal to walk the same roads and stand in the same spots that my characters did and go, you feel them. They're already so surreal and real to you anyway, but it was so tangible. I love grounding it in reality.
That is so beautiful. I write the Campground Kids, which is like middle grade chapter books, and we do a different national park in each book, endangered species, all the things. And I could not have written those books without YouTube. Literally,
Yeah.
YouTubed my way down every single path they hiked. Literally, like every sign, it all had to be correct.
Yeah.
And without YouTube, I could not have done that. And 2 years ago, we got to take a trip out west and do all these national parks. And we went to Yellowstone, and I was reading excerpts, okay, the kids were standing here. And so I read the excerpt from right there in front of Black Diamond Pool, standing on this boardwalk. Incredible, phenomenal, take a little video. Literally 24 hours later, Black Diamond Pool explodes.
Oh,
It explodes. The video is phenomenal. Like the wood walkway that I was standing on 24 hours before, is just blown to bits, literally.
oh my gosh. Wow.
I don't know. That was such a cool story to me. It was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
Thank you for not doing that while I was standing there, and thank God nobody got hurt. But it's so cool as an author to go and
Yeah.
you're right, see the things and experience them. So
We have it so good. We have it so good with all the tools and available resources like YouTube and Wikipedia and Google Maps and all that stuff. We have it so good.
we do it, and it makes our job more accurate, which I love. I love to be able to be as accurate as possible, even with fiction. As you write your longer series, and you said you're a pantser and you just let things happen, do you ever know how many books there are going to be in the series? Do you know, here's where it's going to start and here's where it's going to end, or you have no idea?
I usually, if I'm planning a series, I do like to just go for the typical, the trusted structure of three, because there's a beginning, there's an act one, and then there's an act two, and then there's a final act. And that just makes absolute sense. It's why that formula works so well for movies and books as it is. And then you have, outliers like The Hunger Games, which is a trilogy, but then became a quadrilogy in movie format because there's so much more money to be made. But it was a lengthy story, and so they extrapolated. I knew that the end was going to be a trilogy. I knew that. Dissonance, I wanted to write a trilogy, but every time I thought I was done, there was more to be mined. So I wrote 1, 2, and 3 intentionally as a trilogy, and then I went back and wrote a prequel, which effectively became the first prequel, because the trilogy starts in 2042, the prequel ends in 2037.
Okay.
So I go, oh shoot! Now I have a 5-year gap that I have to fill with story. But that second prequel, it's my favorite one of the saga. It was completely unintended to write. And it's my favorite one of the saga because there's so much backstory and character exposition. But there was a giant door left open at the end of the original trilogy, and my buddy, who is a rabid Dissonance fan, said, "You got to write a sequel. I mean, you must write a sequel, and I want to be the star." So he is. His name is Vance, and he's the president. It was like, okay, I'll write a sequel. And I didn't think I was going to write a sequel, but what was intended to be a trilogy quickly became a hexalogy. And I had no intention of doing that. It just kept, there was so much story to mine.
Yes, I hear you. Plunged is a trilogy, and it will end up with 8 books altogether, which confuses
Yay!
people. Because each book has a 9-week Bible study guide that goes with it, so that bumps you up to 6. And then, I'm going to have to do a prequel, and that'll have its own Bible study. So sometimes series do just grow when you don't mean them to, which is beautiful. I think those are the best books. Like you said, that's your favorite one because you get to know the character. So does Dissonance follow the same character, or is it different characters that go throughout the series?
The trilogy is the same protagonist, but the sequel is a different protagonist, and the original prequel, the first prequel, is, I know it's totally hard to explain. The numbering is also wacko in this series, but 1, 2, and 3 is Cameron Shipley. 0, which is the first prequel, is Cameron's dad, Andrew Shipley. So it's the prequel, so it's going to be his dad. And then the second prequel is from 4 different protagonists, first-person perspectives, who all factor heavily into the story later on. So it's fairly broad, and I love that too. You can get to know more people that way.
Right, exactly. So this year I've really been learning a lot about relationships in fiction and how relationships can drive fiction forward in a way that creates that rabid fan base. I've really found that the more relationships your characters are dealing with, the more people enjoy it. So if you had to pick out your favorite relationship, whether it's between a villain and your main character, whoever that is, what's your favorite relationship that you've written so far?
Well, I absolutely love, there's a character named Pastor Rosie she's been so instrumental and formative in the entire Dissonance saga, but she is, my wife's here to take our dog for a walk.
Hello.
So say hi to Janine. Hi, Janine. I love Pastor Rosie. She's so great and so maternal and so wise. She's actually hopped books, and she makes an appearance in several of my other books. But I think the relationship that I love the most is any kind of relationship that is contemptuous. It's volatile, and there's 2 opposing, what is that? An irresistible force and an immovable object.
Yes.
I love the relationship between President Vance Cardona and former President Jean Graham, who is villainous. She's one of the antagonists of the original trilogy. In Relentless, you see them just go head to head, and it's just a battle of intellect. They're not physically fighting, but it's that mental standoff. I love how the 2 of them dialogue. It's almost like Gandalf and Saruman in Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
Because they are kindred and yet so very different and so very opposed. I love, that's probably that final answer.
If you took it down to the bare bones, it would come back down to dark versus light, which
Always.
is always, even artwork, that's the most beautiful artwork is what plays with dark versus light. So how do you balance that in your writing? I know that we need a good villain. We need a fleshed out villain who thinks they're right, who believes that their actions are the best thing that they can do. How do you balance that in your writing? How do you form a tone for your books that balances light and dark?
I love this question. President Graham thinks that she's right. Hitler thought he was right. And history has proven otherwise. Jean Graham she's diabolical, but she's been put kind of into that position of becoming diabolical in order to ensure that she remains in power, because she thinks that her way is the way that's going to accomplish everything. She thinks that the panacea resides with her. And so she's the one who's going to clean house. No one else can. I love villains that just they're convinced that they're right. On the other side of it, though, I absolutely love a villain who is just absolutely delusional, drunk with power, and that is Emperor Nero, who used to be, for all intents and purposes, sane. His name was Constantine Jedediah Goodfellow. That's our nice little friend right here. Constantine means steadfast, Jedediah means love to the Lord, Goodfellow means good fellow. We put him in power, and he turns and rebrands as Emperor Nero, and all along his ulterior motive is to commence a second Holocaust, eradicating Christians. He is disgusting, and I had to write him that way in the second chapter or third chapter. I think it's the second chapter of the end. I almost didn't want to write the rest of the saga. I just was like, this is so gross, and just I needed to take a shower afterwards because, you know. But you have to establish that character early on, and then you don't have to revisit some of those grossisms, anymore. Um,
Grossisms. I like
yeah,
that.
it's an actual
Grossism.
word. I just coined it. Mine. Uh, but yeah, I like writing either of those styles, the diabolical and really convinced they're right, or the diabolical and delusional.
Yes, and that is really a deep villain. That's the villain that everybody roots against the most, is when we really go into the depths of what makes them. I think a
Yeah.
lot of authors, our tendency is to write a lighter villain, to write or to skirt around the villain. We kind of want to leave their darkness to the side, but it makes it so much more poignant when we can really see their
Hmm.
internal struggle as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Lex Luthor was not someone who brandished a gun. He was incredibly smart. He was scheming. And that is the scary, it's kind of like the most dangerous game is man. Those are the scariest victims in Jurassic Park. It's the Velociraptor who can work things out and figure things out and open doors. If they can use their mind, it's going to be an upward battle to get in out of there.
Man, that is so true. So here's an interesting question. Maybe you haven't thought of this very much. How do you write for mass market? That you have readers who are going to pick up your book, and they are, and I don't mean this in a rude way at all. We're all different. We all have different tastes. But there are readers out there who are smart. They're going to pick up every single nuance. They're going to get all those Easter eggs we've worked so hard to leave in there. And then you also have readers who you really have to explain everything for them to get it. So as a writer, how do you find the balance? Or do you just say, I'm going to go find my people, and the people who enjoy my work are the ones who are going to read it?
I don't think I do either, honestly. I kind of follow a trail of writing what I feel compelled to write and then put it out there. Of course, structure it well with the right description, the right cover, the right keywords, and then run the right promotions, get them in the right categories, run the right ads. It's so much marketing and being such an enthusiast everywhere you can. But
Yes.
wearing stuff like this and vinyl lettering on your car really helps. As a voiceover artist, I was given a phrase by a former talent agent slash entrepreneur, and she said to me something I'll never forget. I had to ask her to repeat it in the call. I was like, "What was that again?" She said, "Someone's endorsement of you, or lack thereof, has very little to do with your trajectory." And it was such an impactful phrase. As a writer, we are constantly looking for endorsement, which is someone buying our book or leaving a positive review. We're constantly looking for that. But we cannot hang our hats on that. You don't steer life by the rear view mirror, you're going to crash into a tree. Uh, and you have to let those stay in your past. So it's merely writing what I feel compelled to write and putting out something that I know is authentic and true to me. And just, it's going to have a market somewhere. You will not be able to please everyone, nor should you try. It's futile.
That is absolutely true. And I think as authors, we all come out of the gate believing that everyone will like our work. Every single mother who holds a child in her arms for the first time believes she should be able to make that baby stop crying, right?
Mm.
And that is simply not true. A baby will cry, no matter, sometimes no matter what you do.
I
Readers
see
will
the
fuss.
allegory here. Yes,
Sometimes, no matter what
readers
you
will
do.
cry.
Readers will cry. So I hope that our listeners take that away as a true, heartfelt direction for their writing career. That you need to go where you're going, and it's like a comet will collect a tail behind it
Hmm.
if it has enough
Yeah.
speed. But if it doesn't, if there's no momentum, then nothing can collect behind it. So, man, that's really what we have to do as authors: is plunge forward, keep going, put your head down, and do the work.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes that's where the power is at.
Yeah, my Dissonance readers, and there's a big crowd, and I'm really grateful for that. I mean, Dissonance Volume One Reality has been adapted for the screen. It's being pitched to streaming networks right now.
Ah,
There's nothing that an indie author wants more than to see their book enjoyed by the masses and maybe on screen. They're allegiant. They're excited. It's a great, deep, rich story that I'm so proud of. But then I shift gears completely and go off the road and off the rails and off the track and write nonfiction about my kids. And they're like, "Hey, there's no dissonance in here. Negative review." And so they're not that flippant and not that psycho. But
most of them, hopefully.
yeah, most of them. But you again have to write what you're compelled to write. I put the pause on Talisman because I felt very compelled to write this book for my kids, and this is going to reach people in a way that Talisman will not, and Talisman will reach people in a way that this will not, and the end the way Talisman will not, and Dissonance the way the end will not. It's the way it goes.
It's exactly right. I've just started on a book that combines I think every single conspiracy theory that I've heard in the last 10 years. Like they're all going in to this book. So I'm going to call
Wow.
it a conspiracy thriller. No, a conspiracy theory thriller. It is wild. Just all of the storylines in it are wild.
Wow.
So I'm so excited to work on it and tweak it and change it. I've been working just on my opening pages for about 2 weeks, which is really unusual. I never spend that much time. This one I have gone over probably 1,000 times. Now, when you open a novel, how much time, effort, importance do you put on that? The first 5 minutes a person is going to spend reading your work.
Oh, that's critical. I mean, that's absolutely critical because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, right?
Yes.
But one of the things that I love that I did from the get-go in Dissonance was you have to come out with it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. You have to grab them from the very beginning and not let go and give them something like, wow, that was really cool, memorable. And so what I do is I bookend each chapter with a similar sentiment. So, for example, Volume 1 Reality starts with the very first sentence is, I was never going to make it, that was my reality. The very last sentence in the chapter is, we were never going to make it, that was our reality. There's one chapter in Dissonance Volume 0 that says, I'll never forget that day, the day they came. The last sentence is, we would never forget that day, the day we came together,
Wow.
a father and his son. And so, they're similar sentences, but they mean something, usually very different. And I like that you have to put something memorable like that in your book where they go, oh, wait a minute, he said this. That was like his first sentence. Oh, the next chapter does that too. Oh, what a cool style. And you make it
Yes.
memorable and you make it your own. Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. You know, be unique and write something that is unique and grabs their attention. It's not the easiest thing to do, though.
It takes courage. I heard some advice. I was at a writing conference up in New York City, and I'm sure you've heard this other places as well. But they say take one risk per book, and I've definitely broken that rule a few times. But there are risks that you take as a writer, with themes or styles or
Killing off a
forbidden,
character.
Yes, yes. And so I've tried to keep that in mind. What's the risk that I'm taking? And if I find I'm writing a book with no risks, then I probably need to reevaluate.
I'm gonna do something drastic in the Talisman series that I had not planned on, but it is going to it's going to level readers. But you begin to understand that this is like, oh, I think I know how he's going to, work this out in the end. So you have to.
Yes.
That's a risk.
It's a risk, exactly. And as a writer, you have to be able to tolerate risk. Everything we do is a risk, right? We don't know
Yeah.
for sure when we write it how it's going to land. And so we have to be able to just enjoy and tolerate and plunge into the risks. Makes our whole writing journey worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure, yes.
Yep.
Aaron, I have enjoyed our time today. Awesome
Me
interview.
too.
I so appreciate your knowledge base. You have done so many amazing things. What would be one final piece of advice that you would give our listeners who are writers?
I'm big on mantras. I'm big on mission statements and things like that. One of my greatest mantras that I've always loved and comes from a movie I like to pretend doesn't exist, Star Wars 1: The Phantom Menace. Just anyway, move right on to Empire. I love the phrase that Qui-Gon Jinn imparts to a young Anakin Skywalker, and he says, "Your focus determines your reality." So what you see in the background of this video is a custom-built voiceover booth that did not exist. At one point, it did not exist. Before I was doing voiceovers and that was paying for our mortgage and then some, I was not a successful voiceover artist. But my focus determined my reality. So my focus now is having authoring replace voiceovers. It's going to be a long while before the income does this, but that's my focus, and it will become reality. Whatever your focus is, that determines your reality. If you want to be a successful author, you won't get a bestseller right away. You won't have a huge email list right away. You won't sell out right away. You won't have the best cover or the best story right away. This is a long slog, but a worthy one. Make it your focus, and that'll determine your reality. That's what I would
Wow.
say.
Wow, I love that. That is possibly the best advice I've ever heard come out of an author's mouth. I could not agree more. I hope everyone takes that to heart today. Go write your book.
Yeah.
Go do what you were designed to do. I'm Shiloh Creed. So thankful you were here with us today, and we'll catch you next time.